Alright guys, MTech Guy here, and today we're going to take a look at changing out the oil level sensor on the E60 M5. Now this sensor is used to read the oil level and the oil temperature. Now if you've been following my channel, you'll have seen that I've had nothing but trouble with this sensor, or the reading that I've been getting from the sensor since I purchased the vehicle. For example, the last oil change video that I did, I drained a measured amount out of the engine. The reading was at 1.1 on the dashboard. Now I refilled the engine with 0.3 of a litre less than what I drained out, just to err on the side of caution. Did a short-term oil level reading, it read 1.1. Did a long-term oil level reading, it still read 1.1. So even though I'd refilled the engine with less oil than I'd drained out, it was still giving exactly the same reading. Now what I found moving forward a few days later, it started reading 1.5 on the dashboard, so it was showing a much higher reading. I still hadn't topped it up in the meantime. With an engine like an S85 V10, we want as accurate as reading as we can get. So I don't really trust the oil level sensor that's in the vehicle at the moment, and as far as I'm aware it's the original one. Now this is an early E60 M5, it's a 2005, and they have revised the design of the oil level sensor since these first came out. The strip on the original ones wasn't sheathed in plastic, it was exposed to the engine oil, whereas the later ones did have a plastic coating. Now what can happen with the early ones is if you get some debris built up on it, it's going to give an incorrect reading. And it's not unusual to see a little bit of glitter in the oil of these engines if the rod bearings have been abused. So this can contaminate the oil level sensor and give you an erroneous reading. So anyhow, I'm going to get that changed out today, and then we'll see what type of oil level reading it's giving me moving forward. Right, let's go and check out the new part I'm going to be fitting today. Alright, so we're going to combine this job with an oil change, because we have to drain the oil out anyhow to change out the oil level sensor. So of course we've got some oil, got an oil filter. Going to need 2 of these cans of oil. It takes about 9.3 litres approximately. And this is the oil level sensor, genuine BMW one. Now there are a few different ones available out there at different price points. Of course you've got the most expensive one, the BMW one, the genuine one. Now I did struggle to find one from the OEM manufacturer. There are a couple of mid-range price ones, and then there are some very cheap ones around on eBay and Amazon. Now it's quite a basic sensor, so any of them options will probably be alright, but with something as critical as an oil level sensor in an engine like a S85 V10, and without the backup of an actual dipstick, I didn't want to be taking any chances. So I spent the money and I bought a genuine BMW one, so I don't want any mucking around moving forwards, and hopefully this will resolve the issues that I've been experiencing with that early type oil level sensor. Alright, let's get into it. So the oil level sensor is positioned in the sump of the engine. So first things first, we're going to get the front end of the car jacked up, get it up on axle stands, and then we can gain access to the underneath of the engine and to the existing oil level sensor. So next step is to drain the oil and change out the oil filter. But before I get stuck into that, what I'm going to do is remove this large under tray here, because that's going to give me clear access to the sump and to the oil level sensor. And to be honest, just about every time I do an oil change, doesn't matter how level the car is, where the access hole is for the drain plug, you always get a bit of a dribble of oil catching on the top side of the under tray. It's going to be nice just to have that completely out the way before I drain the oil. And we also need to remove this corner piece up here to gain access to the oil filter. The oil filter housing cover screws take a T25 Torx, and the under tray screws take an 8mm socket. I'll remove the sump plug, that takes a 6mm Allen. So now we can reinsert the sump plug with a new crush washer. Now we can change the oil filter out. Drain plug on the filter housing also takes a 7mm socket. Now we'll reinsert the drain plug and remove the oil filter housing cap itself. This takes a 24mm socket. It's the old filter, new filter and O-ring, and the drain plug also got a new O-ring. They come as part of the filter kit. So now, to gain access to the oil level sensor, we need to remove this aluminium chassis brace. So there's 5 bolts holding this on. They take a 16mm socket. Alright, so if we take a look at the sump here, this is the oil level sensor that we came for today. So we'll start off by removing the electrical connector. And there's 3 nuts holding this on. They take a 10mm socket. I'm not sure how much oil we're going to see dribble out of here, so you may want a drain pan underneath it. We'll see. Just a wee dribble. So this is our new one, and if we take a look at the part number there, 7607910. And the old one, we've got 7506689. This has got a date of 2004. It's been a 2005 model, so obviously this was produced before the car was assembled. So that'll be the original one. And like I say, the design has been revised. So hopefully I won't have as much trouble with my oil level readings moving forwards. So I'll just give this mating surface a little bit of a clean. Don't want any leaks. Right, now we can put the new level sensor in the hole, and it does come with a new gasket there. Refit the 3 nuts. Just try and pull it down evenly. Plug her in. So now that that's in place, what I'm going to do is refill the engine with oil, and then we'll just run it for a minute or two and just double check that we don't have any leaks before we button everything back up. Okay, so we take a look at the oil drain pan here. The markings on the back, if you guys can make that out, but it's showing I've drained about 9.3 litres. Bearing in mind the level sensor, or the old level sensor, was reading 1.3 full, so 0.3 overfilled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 9 litres back in the engine. It'd be interesting to see what we've got after a long-term oil level reading, because of course we're basing the previous reading off the old level sensor that I don't really trust. So anyhow, let's fill her up with 9 litres at 10W60. Yes, that's 9 litres. So we'll start her up and check for leaks. No leaks. No leaks. No leaks. Okay, so next up, we can refit this oil filter housing cover. Put the underbody brace on there, the aluminium chassis brace. Refit the under tray. I'll drop it down back onto its wheels. I'll take it for a run. I'll get the oil nice and warm, and then we'll take a short-term oil level reading and a long-term. And we'll see how she's looking with a new oil level sensor. Right, so that's the aluminium chassis brace back in position, and the under trays and the wee cover there. So I'll get it back down on its wheels now and take her for a spin. Alright, so the short-term oil level reading's in, and it's a 1.2, which is interesting. So the reading with the old oil level sensor was 1.3, and I've refilled the engine with 0.3 of a litre less oil than what I drained out. So we'll leave that for now. I'll drive it for a few more days, and then we'll check the long-term oil level reading and see what it's looking like. Alright, so it's been a few days. I've given it a good chance to do the long-term oil level reading, so we'll just scroll through and see what it looks like. So that's a 1.1 now. I'm much happier with that. What I found with the old level sensor, normally if it was ended up about 1.1, 1.3 when I'd initially done the short-term oil level reading, once the long-term came around, it usually jumped up to 1.5 and it would stay there for quite some time. Now the problem with that is 1.5 is where it maxes out, so anything above that is not going to read on the level sensor. So you're completely unaware whether it's actually at 1.5, could be 1.6, could be 2 litres. So things look a lot more accurate with this new oil level reading. I'm much happier with this one. So if you do own an early 2005 E60 M5 and you are having trouble with your oil level readings, I'd certainly recommend getting it changed out for the later type. Alright guys, so there we have it. That's the oil level sensor changed out on the E60 M5, and we've now got the revised design in the bottom of the engine there, so hopefully that's going to give me a truer reading moving forward, more accurate. Now if you found the video interesting or useful, don't forget to give it a like, and make sure you go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel for more BMW E60 M5 content. Consider subscribing if that's your cup of tea. I'm M Tech Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.